All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking about the Seattle Seahawks. Kind of an uncharacteristic start to free agency last week. Seattle was extremely aggressive. They got a whole bunch of players who are going to come in, compete, start, and help take this Seahawks team to that next level. They're loaded up with 2 first-round picks, including the 5th pick, the 20th pick. They also have 2 second-round picks and just a bunch of draft capital in general. They still have a little bit of money left in free agency, but we're going to dissect all of that in today's video. I just love how aggressive this team was. You know, you signed Dre'Mont Jones right out of the gate. 3-year, $51 million contract. You signed DB Julian Love. You brought back Jarran Reed, who used to play for the Seahawks. You brought in Devin Bush, Evan Brown. I view it as a lot of lower risk, high reward players. And Seattle, just in general, after leading San Francisco in the first game of the playoffs last year in the wild card round, this is a team that they're extremely versatile and they're going to be good for several years to come. So we're going to kind of dissect everything, all the moves they've made thus far in free agency. We're going to talk about who they could still get. We're going to talk a little bit about the draft. But before we do, if you guys enjoy it, be sure to hit that like button, hit that sub button. Seahawks fans, seriously, thank you guys so much for my last video. I think we got to like 2,400 likes. I was absolutely blown away. If we could get even half of that for today's video, I would be forever grateful. But anyways, hit that like button, hit that sub button for daily NFL content, along with a couple of Seahawks videos every week. So let's get it started with Dre'Mont Jones, formerly with the Denver Broncos. In fact, he was a huge move. Like, this was something I was not anticipating Seattle to do. Like I said at the beginning of the video, I kind of thought they were going to be a little bit more not as aggressive, right? I'm very glad that they got Dre'Mont Jones. He was ranked 19th out of 150 of the Athletics' top 150 free agents. Last season, he had 45 pressures, which would actually be number 2 on the Seahawks if he was with them last season. He had 12 quarterback hits, 6.5 sacks, and he's just going to be the Seahawks' best interior pass rusher. When we look at the Seahawks team in general, the defense, I hate using the words let them down, because Seattle exceeded, like, they blew away expectations from the start of the season to just making the playoffs, finishing above 500. Geno Smith, comeback player of the year. It's still an extremely young team on both sides of the ball. So I don't want to say the defense let them down. But what I will say is there were a lot more holes on the defense than there were on the offense, and injuries did play a big part of that. Unfortunately, Seattle kind of caught the injury bug towards the later half of the season. But Dre'Mont Jones, that front seven, that was a big need for this defense, and they addressed it right out of the gate. Jarran Reed was a great player last season for the Green Bay Packers, my Green Bay Packers. So I got a ton of time watching this guy play. He just, he's a veteran. He's not old, but he's a great player to have on your defensive line. I like how versatile this D-line is becoming. That gets me talking about Julian Love. Former New York Giant, signed a 2-year contract. He was actually coming from a 3-4 scheme in New York, so he fits perfectly. He is a phenomenal tackler, and he's extremely versatile. Now, it does bring up the thought, Jamal Adams, he's kind of like a not as good Jamal Adams. That sounds super desperate, because Julian Love is still a great football player. I'm excited for a healthy Jamal Adams. I will say that. We're not going to talk too much about, like, does this mean Jamal could be on his way out, or what's the deal with that? What I'm excited about is just the versatility that having both Adams and Love is. Like, I think that gives this team in general tremendous versatility. I love Julian Love. However, I am a biased Notre Dame football fan, so I will mention that. Devin Bush as well, 24 years old. If you can kind of see the occurring theme, these guys are ready to come in and contribute. Defensively, they're ready to come in and contribute. What did I say? What do we know? If you're a Seahawks fan, what was their weakness? Once again, the defense. And what are all those moves? All 4 of these moves have been defense. Devin Bush was a stud at Michigan. literal stud. He comes into the NFL and just does a great job in his rookie season. And then, unfortunately, in that COVID year, he tore his knee. And ever since then, he has been working his way back. And that's kind of why it's a 1 year contract. I think this is, once again, a low risk, high reward move. I think if this signing pans out the way I'm imagining it pans out, you're looking at a finesse, an absolute finesse. He ran a 4.43 40-yard dash at the 2019 NFL Combine, and he's been coming back. Like I said, in the COVID year, so 2020 was when he got injured. So it's been a handful of seasons, and I know his tenure in Pittsburgh wasn't necessarily perfect, but 1 year kind of prove it contract. I'm nonetheless very excited for Devin Bush. Now, the last move, Evan Brown, formerly with the Detroit Lions, he signed a 1 year, $2.25 million contract. He played guard for them last year, but he is also a center, and that is a need for the Seahawks team. So I honestly love all five of those moves. I think guys like Dre'Mont Jones, Jerron Reed might be ready to come in and provide help at a more consistent level, but I'm still extremely hopeful for Julian Love and Devin Bush on that defensive side. Now, they made a bunch of moves. Technically, they have around $12 million of salary, but due to all the logistics, they kind of have about $5 million of salary right now. So I've seen some rumors, we know Jordan Brooks tore his ACL at the end of the season last year. So I've seen some rumors. Could a Bobby Wagner return be coming? I don't, regardless if it's Bobby Wagner or whoever it's going to be, Seattle's going to have to get a little bit creative as far as making the money work, because we still have to get into the draft. Then you also have the practice squad. So Seattle's not done in free agency. I don't know if they're going to make any big time splashes like Bobby Wagner. Now, Bobby, 33 years old, but he is still an absolute stud. In fact, he was the PFF's highest graded off-ball linebacker in 2022. They need a middle linebacker pretty badly. Cody Barton signed with the Washington Commanders, so Wagner obviously fits in pretty seamlessly. However, once again, you're loaded with the 5th pick and the 20th pick. I don't think they'd go middle linebacker with either of those, but maybe later on in the draft. So it's either going to be a veteran or it's going to be a rookie draft pick. The defensive tackle position is also something of need. You also have the running back room / wide receiver room. The good news is for both of those two positions, the draft is absolutely stacked. Like the draft is completely stacked at the running back position, but maybe you want a more veteran type of player to have next to Kenneth Walker. You don't want him getting banged up. You want him going in with fresh legs, but maybe a Kareem Hunt signing is off the table at this point. Wide receiver room, we're going to wait and see. I wouldn't be surprised if Seattle goes rookie with both of those. However, my best guess is there's going to be some type of veteran free agent signed, at least in the running back room. The cornerback spot is interesting because, you have the 5th pick, and at least the first 3 draft picks of the draft are going to be quarterbacks. I think it's going to go quarterback, or, at least 3 of the first 4 picks are going to be quarterbacks. So that's going to leave Seattle with the ability option to get Will Anderson Jr. possibly, Jalen Carter possibly, Tyree Wilson, Christian Gonzalez, a lockdown cornerback, or due to Geno Smith's contract that gives the Seahawks kind of a way out after his first season if he doesn't pan out like he did last year, they could shock everybody, throw a curveball, and draft a guy like Anthony Richardson. It really wouldn't surprise me. Personally, I think they're going to go defense. I think they're going to go best defensive player available at pick number 5. All 3, or honestly all 4 of those options, Christian Gonzalez, Will Anderson, Jalen Carter, Tyree Wilson, all 5 of those are extremely enticing to me because those are difference makers. Those are complete difference makers, even as rookies, especially long term. AR-15, Anthony Richardson at 5, I would be It would be very surprising to me, but I want to hear what Seahawks fans have to say. It's just something to keep in the back of your mind because, Geno 3-year deal, it's going to come up at some point, whether that is at this year's draft or next year's draft, next year's offseason. That remains to be seen. We still have about 5 weeks until the draft, so who knows what's going to happen. But Seahawks fans, I want to hear from you guys down below. Who are you taking right now at 5? My guess at 20 is wide receiver. That's where I think they make a big splash for a wide receiver. Let me know what you guys are thinking, though. As always, hit that like button, hit that sub button. Seahawks fans, seriously, thank you guys so much for the love on my last video and just every Seahawks video I make in general. Appreciate you guys so much. Look forward to reading your comments, and I'll see you guys until next.